Another year, another round of disappointing Oscars nominations. Once again, there are no women in the directing, cinematography, editing categories. The internet is on fire right now with everyone screaming, how could this possibly happen again? I'll tell you. My name is Sarah Grant and I've been making films professionally in Scotland for 6 years now, and trust me, I am disappointed too. But what's important to understand is that this didn't just happen. There are systemic problems in the industry that stretch from the Academy all the way to the weekend warriors funding films out their back pockets. What I'm going to try and summarise is how an Oscar film is nominated and why we're seeing the results we are, how that applies to the industry today and what we can do about it. Before I go any further, I want to take a moment to say that I'm going to be speaking about women in general, not women of colour. The industry is so horrifically behind on its inclusion of women of colour, I can't even begin to describe it. But that is a rant for another day. So how is a film nominated? Well, the Academy is made up of around 7,000 members from 17 branches of the film industry. Only branch members get to vote for the corresponding award. For example, the acting branch will vote for the acting awards, but everyone gets a vote for Best Picture. There's a ranking system and a complicated math thing that decides who actually gets a nomination that I don't know enough to talk about, but this is where we might actually start to see where the gender split comes across the nominations. The Academy members are 68% male. Year in and year out, we see the same kind of movies winning Best Picture. Men at war, men and their friends, men in show business, and historical dramas that are so depressing that you literally never want to watch a film ever again. But let's put that aside for a second and think about women-led stories. While it is seen as expected for women to go and enjoy all the films that are male-led, it is universally seen as awful to subject a man to a chick flick. Stories that have a domestic setting like Little Women can be seen as chick flicks, and having men cut themselves off from these kind of stories is so problematic. It makes us think that female-led stories aren't worthy of the Best Picture nomination. We enjoy the films we identify with, so when you have a 68% male voting body watching films about men, of course that's who they're going to vote for. The argument I've seen a lot lately is that it's not about gender, it's about talent, and women are free to make better films, and this isn't technically wrong, it's just overlooking a huge part of that problem: money. Only 9 women have ever directed films over $100 million in budget. Money is given by studios mostly to men with proven track records, so the new voices we're crying out for just aren't given the budget because they're seen as risks. Even women who are tried and tested directors like Greta Gerwig and Lulu Wang are not given the budgets from the studios to make better films. 1917 was a film that was done entirely in one shot, and the Irishman used expensive effects to de-age their actors. If those directors had the same budget as their female counterparts, would they have been able to do those things? And if not, would the film still be as good? So what can we do about it here, in Scotland, making films independently? Well, here are a couple of things. 1. In whatever role you're in, from actor to producer to anything in between, have an inclusion rider. When joining a new project, make sure there's at least one woman in a lead creative role such as director, writer, cinematographer, editor, or composer. 2. Make an effort to see films that have been directed by women. There is no shortage of incredible films directed by women from the past couple of years. Make an effort to see them. If you feel passionate enough to go online and complain the Academy is ignoring women directors, make sure you're not doing the same. 3. Share the work of women you admire. It might get to an audience that it wouldn't have got to otherwise, and that is lifting each other up. 4. If you're running an event, a festival, or a screening, and you get to the Q&A portion of the evening and you realise that all the people standing up to talk are men, don't ignore this or pretend that it's not a problem. I know that I would feel so much better if at any of the events I'd been to where this happened, the host had acknowledged it and said, oh wow, there's a lot of guy filmmakers tonight. Can I have a big cheer from all the women in the audience who helped make a film tonight? It's really not much, but it would make me feel seen, it would make us feel like our contribution is valued. 5, and this one's hard, but don't be disheartened. One night a couple of years ago, I came home from a screening in tears and I gave up. I thought, I don't want to do this anymore, because what is the point of pouring my heart and soul into an industry that doesn't recognise my voice or my stories? I thought that nothing I could ever do would change things, but I was wrong and things are changing. Some of the biggest franchises over the past couple of years, such as Wonder Woman, Frozen, Captain Marvel and Star Wars, all feature female protagonists, and the number of women directors is going up every year. And finally, keep telling your stories. When we're first taught about filmmaking, a camera is placed in our hands and we instantly think that we need kit first and a story second, and that's nonsense. More and more major film festivals around the world are accepting films that were shot on phones or made for a tiny budget, so keep telling your stories. Find a way. Last year, women directed a record high number of films, but it was still only 15% overall. Never doubt that your voice is valued and needed. None of this is to say that how good a film is has anything to do with the gender of the director, or to say that any of the films on the nomination list this year don't deserve to be there. I am saying that we still have a long way to go in terms of equality in front of and behind the camera. Only 5 women have ever been nominated for Best Director at the Academy Awards, and that has to change. So lift each other up and keep telling your stories, and maybe we'll get there a little quicker.